I think we've all seen enough of Zohran Mamdani by now to understand the trust fund coddled economically illiterate socialist that he is. But to my surprise, this week, guys, CNN was actually able to press him just a little bit. It was Abby Phillips on his plan for government grocery stores in New York. Take a look.
Why is the government a better solution for a lack of grocery stores, food deserts, than just working with the private sector to have them do what they know how to do, which is run grocery stores? What's your answer to that?
There are more than 1,000 grocery stores in New York City. I'm proposing creating 5 additional ones, one in each borough of New York City that the city would run, and that would guarantee cheaper groceries, not free food, but cheaper groceries. And part of that is because food is a necessity for New Yorkers. It's a necessity for everyone. And yet it's something that people are being priced out of. And we can see the promise and the possibility of a public option. And we've seen in studies that have been done about the applicability of this in an urban setting like Chicago, that this is something we can actually deliver right here in New York City.
But there was another example in Kansas City where they had a government-run grocery store, and it's been there for years, but it's on the verge of closing because it doesn't work. They've been riddled with crime. They've dealt with just a lack of inventory. There are other examples where it just hasn't worked because, frankly, the government is not that good at being in the business of being in grocery stores.
Okay, that is the most conservative thing I've heard from Abby Phillips. Not even close, without a doubt. And Zohran Mamdani has no rebuttal whatsoever in that clip. All he says is, yeah, I know it's economically illiterate, but we're going to try it anyway. That's all he says. They know it doesn't work. It's just about the campaign. It's just about coming up with false promises to excite people to go to the polls. It's about convincing people who know nothing about economics that you're going to give them free things. That's like 90% of politics nowadays. Abby Phillips actually continues by asking Mamdani why he hates capitalism so much. Is a good question, since he's so benefited from it all his life. Take a look.
The United States, you have benefited from this country. This is what your critics say, but you don't support the system, the economic system that perhaps you benefited from. Is that right?
I love this country. And I'm also a New Yorker who has loved this city. And one of the things that I love most about the city are its parks. And its parks, and the Parks Department was founded by a socialist mayor of New York City, Fiorello LaGuardia. These are all parts of the same story. And the idea to simplify it as if a critique of capitalism is to be un-American, it speaks to a lack of understanding of the breadth of our history.
To be clear, to hate capitalism is to hate America. America is amazing in part. It's not the whole thing, but it's a large part of it because of capitalism, because of how amazing capitalism is, and no one exemplifies it more than the United States. Anyone who has kind of adopted that system has done it because of how successful America has been at it. And what Zohran Mamdani either doesn't understand or he's lying to you about is the fact that every social program in New York only works because of the fact that it leeches off of capitalism. That's how it works. Socialism does not produce anything on its own. Assuming his story, well, we'll just assume for a second, his story about LaGuardia is true. I don't really know. I haven't looked into it. The only reason that they were able to build Central Park was by overtaxing a capitalist system that was working incredibly well in New York. New York exemplifies not socialism, but capitalism in many ways. And even still, if they had just hired a private company today to run Central Park, it would be 10 times better. Not only would Central Park be better, but it would also require less taxes, no taxes to be levied on the citizens of New York. There's this fantastic book right now. I've been reading it right now. You probably heard of it. It's by Henry Hazlitt. It's called Economics in One Lesson. And one of the central premises of this book is, and he kind of likes to talk about this repeatedly throughout the book, is that we like to talk about how social programs are free sometimes, whereas a private program is not. But we just decide to not talk about the taxes and the inflation that the social program causes. Like on its face, Central Park is free, but it's really not. If everyone had to pay $1 to enter Central Park anytime you went into it, that pales in comparison to the cost of living and the taxation that they've paid to keep that park there. That's kind of the whole premise behind the book, and that's absolutely true. That's something that Zohran Mamdani and all of his followers and fans don't understand, and that's pretty basic economics. Now, Mamdani knows that communism is not a bit, it's not very strong, even against New Yorkers. New Yorkers can be crazy, but it's not even that popular there. So in a recent interview, he said that he is turning over a new leaf. He doesn't believe in communism anymore. The stuff he tweeted like 5 years ago just aren't part of his campaign anymore. Here it is.
Many of my opponents, chiefly Andrew Cuomo, would prefer to debate a mythical version of myself than the person that I actually am. They would prefer to focus on tweets from 2020 as opposed to the platform of 2025. And they prefer to do that because they know that our ideas are actually popular. And what we are putting forward is a response to New Yorkers' needs that goes beyond the failed ideas and policies that they've heard from these old politicians.
What you're really saying is that those tweets of 2020, you've evolved from that. You've changed from that. You've changed your views.
Yes, that those are out of step with the campaign that we are running. And it's been clear throughout.
But out of step with how you feel.
Yes.
So you've totally changed your mind.
Yes.
The problem with this is he just won't come out and say that he is fully wrong, that he was wrong in the past, and he just is done with all of it. He says things like this. He says, they're not part of my campaign. And then, of course, the natural thing to ask next is like, it's not in your campaign? Why are you going around this? Is it part of you? And then he kind of reluctantly is like, I guess it's not part of me anymore. But you can tell it 100% is, because not long ago, he said that he wants to seize the means of production. Those are his exact words. So we know, we want to know what you actually believe, dude. And I think people do actually know, yet he lies about it because New Yorkers don't actually want communism. Even though Mamdani is not transparent, he is probably going to win this thing. This is according to Polymarket. These are the new odds that just came out. And you could see that Zohran Mamdani has an 83% chance of winning this thing. Andrew Cuomo is really the only person that might be able to do something at 13%. Eric Adams is at 2. Curtis Sliwa is at 1. Eric Adams and Curtis Sliwa should drop out. They really should. I mean, Andrew Cuomo is the only one that has a chance. Eric Adams just announced that he's going to stay in this race. Super stupid, if you ask me. Again, his central message that socialism is the key to solving all your problems is gaining a lot of steam right now among a lot of people. That's why his numbers are so high. Gallup actually polled people recently on how they feel about socialism. It's pretty shocking. It's scary. And I think a lot of it is in part due to Zohran Mamdani and his popularity. Bernie Sanders and AOC, of course, take a lot of that blame as well. This is a Gallup poll. You can see it right here. Do you have a positive or negative view of socialism? Positive, 39% say yes. Negative, 57%. 39%, it's not a majority, but that's a lot of people. That's way too high. And if you look at the Democrat Party, it's 66% have a positive, highest ever, according to Gallup. So a super majority, 2/3 of Democrats believe that socialism is a positive thing. GOP's at 14%. That's scary too, frankly. Like, what? This weird populist socialist movement in the GOP should be quelled immediately. It's horrible. You can see that ages, the younger ages tend to like a little bit more. Ages 55 plus know that it's stupid because they've actually been taxed in their lives. No college is at 38%. College grads at 47%. Male 32%. Female 46%. So there's a huge disparity between men and women here. 32% say it's positive. 46% of females say it's positive. And then non-white people say there's also a huge disparity there. 35% of white say it's positive and 47% say it's positive. Gallup did the same poll, but with capitalism. Again, very scary. Lowest ever for Gallup poll, 54% said positive. How? I mean, that is just terrifying. It is economically illiterate, really historically illiterate. To see that somehow that people think that all of the things that happened in the 1900s with socialism and fascism just don't matter. There's no evidence. Communism does work. No, we've seen it not work over and over and over again. And the disparities here are pretty much the same. You're seeing that white people and men overwhelmingly like capitalism much more than non-white and female. So if you're pro-capitalism, that's the place to work in. It is. It's not to give handouts. That's the big mistake, is that people give handouts to these groups thinking, oh, this will make them more conservative. This will make them more Republican. The Republican Party does this all the time, not realizing that that in of itself is socialism. And people actually don't like that. I talked about it on the show last week. The numbers show in history, when people have gotten huge amounts of welfare, they have felt less economically happy. That was true in 2008. That was true in 2020. That was true in the 1980s with Carter, in the 70s. It happens all the time. So scary times, as I've said before. I actually hope that Mamdani wins. The reason why is I want America to see what socialism does in this kind of compact area so that we will reject it in 2028. Thank you so much for watching this episode, everybody. Please like the video so other great patriots like yourselves will see it. And you can tune in every single weekday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show, or you can watch another video right here.